Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to close your eyes for just a second. Imagine you're standing on the edge of a vast golden African plain. The year is, well, roughly 72,000 years ago. You can hear the wind rustling through the tall grass, and way off in the distance, a herd of antelope is grazing peacefully. You're a hunter. You need to feed your family. But you aren't about to charge in with a heavy, clunky spear. Instead, you're holding something completely new, a piece of technology that's going to fundamentally change the course of human evolution. Today, we're diving into the revolutionary invention of the very first bow and arrow.
It's a pretty massive question to consider, isn't it? What if one single invention changed human history over 70,000 years ago? I mean, we're talking way before the dawn of civilization, before writing, and long before anyone ever figured out how to forge metal tools. Early humans somehow developed one of the greatest hunting technologies ever conceived. But as we're going to see today, the bow and arrow wasn't just a hunting tool. No way. It was a pivotal evolutionary leap. It was the catalyst that altered human destiny, giving our ancestors this tremendous survival advantage that eventually allowed them to conquer the globe.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1. A dangerous game. The life-or-death reality of early hunting. To really appreciate this invention, you gotta put yourself in their shoes and understand the brutal life-or-death reality of the Stone Age. Before the bow, you had to approach wild, completely unpredictable megafauna with a thrusting spear. Think about that for a second. It was a terrifying close combat situation where one trip or one angry rhinoceros meant you were very likely going to be lunch. The bow and arrow introduced an entirely new paradigm. Suddenly, hunters could strike swiftly from afar. They could stay silent, hidden, and most importantly, safe. It wasn't just a minor upgrade, it literally overturned the rules of survival.
Part 2. Clues in the cave, unearthing the invisible weapon.
Now you might be wondering, if wood and string just rot away after a few thousand years, how do we even know this weapon existed 70,000 years ago? Well, we head to a modern archaeological dig at Sibudu Cave, which is in present-day South Africa. Here, researchers excavated dozens of tiny stone points. The oldest of these date back about 72,000 years, and the youngest in this specific cave layer to about 60,000 years ago. At first glance, they just look like ordinary little stone tools, waiting for modern technology to reveal their true purpose.
Now, what's really interesting here is what happened when researchers put these ordinary-looking stones under powerful microscopes. Their jaws absolutely dropped. They didn't just find standard wear and tear from cutting or scraping. They found impact fractures that are only consistent with high-speed projectiles, not handheld spears, high-speed impacts. And even more incredibly, they found traces of ancient plant-based glue and the ultimate smoking gun, microscopic animal blood and tissue preserved right there on the stone. These weren't just random rocks. They were highly lethal arrowheads.
Wood decays. Stone remembers. Man, that is such a powerful thought, right? Because direct evidence of ancient wooden bows is practically non-existent, researchers basically have to rely on these tiny stone memories. Today, experimental archaeologists will actually recreate these ancient bows and arrows using the exact same materials our ancestors would have had access to. Then they fire them to compare the modern damage with the prehistoric impact fractures found in Sibudu Cave. This brilliant reverse engineering perfectly matches up, proving the existence of this invisible weapon without a shadow of a doubt.
Which brings us to Part 3, Prehistoric Engineering, the blueprint of early genius.
Designing a bow and arrow wasn't just some happy accident. It was a deliberate blueprint of early human genius. It required the invention of what we call a composite tool. Basically, that's a complex device created by combining multiple distinct, completely unrelated materials, like wood, stone, glue, and fiber. Bringing all of these together into one unified mechanism requires some seriously high-level abstract thinking. It's like a giant puzzle. Early Homo sapiens weren't just scraping by. They were practicing applied physics and chemistry, demonstrating an understanding of the natural world that is, frankly, mind-blowing.
Think about the sheer craftsmanship required here. Step 1. You have to understand wood properties to source and shape flexible branches, and then perfectly balance a straight shaft. Then, you're engineering tension by twisting plant fibers or animal sinew into strong bowstrings. But it gets better. These early humans were essentially running a prehistoric chemistry lab. They mixed natural tree resin with powdered minerals like ochre to create these high-strength adhesives. Then they used that glue to securely bind their expertly knapped stone points. This wasn't just sitting around whittling. This was a highly sophisticated, multi-step manufacturing process.
Part 4. The hunting revolution. Smarter, faster, deadlier.
Bringing all these highly engineered pieces together completely transformed daily survival. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the metrics of life essentially flipped overnight. Instead of being restricted to slow, hulking prey just because they had to get close, hunters could suddenly target swift, elusive animals. What was once a wildly inconsistent, incredibly dangerous chore became a highly reliable system. The ultimate result? The food supply shifted from scarce to abundant. The bow and arrow acted as the ultimate survival multiplier, fundamentally changing how our ancestors interacted with their environment.
With this new, abundant food supply, life really flourished. Sibudu Cave wasn't just some cold, isolated workshop, it was a vibrant, seasonal home for hunter-gatherer families. Archaeologists have painted this rich picture of prehistoric community life there, finding cozy fireplaces, grass bedding, and obviously the remains of those successful hunts. But crucially, they found thousands of stone tools, meaning the complex engineering techniques we just talked about were actively being taught. Picture adults sitting closely around those warm fires, passing down this absolutely vital, life-saving knowledge to their children, ensuring the technology improved generation after generation.
All right, part 5, Shaping Human Destiny, the weapon that conquered the world. Because, you see, this local invention in a South African cave didn't stay local for long. A seemingly simple invention shaped the global success of our entire species. Having reliable hunting meant having more food, which resulted in healthier, stronger communities. And when you're well fed, and you can defend yourself and hunt from a safe distance, well, you are finally equipped to do something completely unprecedented. You can leave your home and actually survive the unpredictable as you move across the globe. The path of human migration is just vast. The technology originated in southern Africa, but it certainly didn't stop there. As early humans moved out of Africa, they expanded into completely unfamiliar territories in Asia. They spread throughout the diverse, challenging climates of Europe and eventually reached Australia and the Americas. And in every single harsh, changing environment they encountered, this lightweight, lethal technology traveled right along with them. It adapted, it evolved, and it became their absolute most valuable survival tool on every single continent they touched.
So the crucial point is, the bow and arrow combined engineering, chemistry, physics, and skill into a single invention. We often fall into this trap of thinking of early humans as primitive, But the creation of this weapon represents an immense intellectual leap. It proves that the foundation of human success wasn't just brute strength. It was our unique, highly sophisticated cognitive ability to master multiple scientific disciplines, engineering, chemistry, physics, and actually imagine how disparate parts of nature could work together to solve a really complex problem. Which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. If an ancient combination of wood, stone, and resin, engineered by our ancestors 72,000 years ago, could literally pave the way for humanity to conquer the globe, what does that reveal about the boundless power of human innovation? Those tiny stone points found in Sibudu Cave aren't just the remnants of ancient hunts. They are the earliest proof that our destiny has always been driven by our ability to invent, to adapt, and to reach further than we ever thought possible. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the world around you.